Around the world anticipating a strike on Iran here, coming from the United States or Israel here at any time. And now we're hearing that huge numbers of U.S. allied forces are being told to exit the Erbil base in Iraq. I've talked about this before, just within the past couple months, that when you see this base largely get hollowed out, with just a few troops left behind, that's a sign they're about to attack. It is every single time. We also have the Germans urging all citizens to get out immediately. Germany has pulled all their troops out of the area, along with other NATO allies. They've pulled anybody on the ground, French soldiers, Italian soldiers, they've all left. Norwegian, Swedish forces, they've all left. Just leaving behind the Americans pretty much to man the place. The German military sources saying that the army reduced its forces in response to the escalating regional conflict, and that any citizens that are there should get out immediately. You don't want to be stuck. There's not a guarantee they can come in a rescue operation and retrieve you if you're there. So that's what they're warning everybody largely here. And all the ducks seem to be in a row here for an attack, even though Israel pumped the brakes on the U.S. last time and had them stop right when they were getting ready to strike. This time, they're saying that if you're going to attack, you've got like a week's worth of attack power, and then that's it. If the enemy knows this, then what good does that do anything? They've got a large set of assets in the area, but it's said that when it comes to the bombs themselves, they've sent so many to the Ukraine that they're in short supply. Something sounds like a setup. And with all these battleships, ones that are old and the toilets blowing up on them out there and everything else, it would seem like it would be advantageous to the West to have one of their ships sink out there in the midst of all this. It would give them the reason of all reasons to start launching bombs and to go at them hard. I really feel they're looking for an excuse to be able to go in for a decapitation strike on Khomeini, which Khomeini has also put things into motion to where a successor will replace him if they do get him. So people being told to get out, the place surrounded by military at this point, the State of the Union over. Trump says he's sick of talking. And at this point, when people are told to leave and get out, well, the next thing is bombs flying. So join me on the live show, going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Keeping up with this and a whole lot more. I hope to see you there. Much love. Alright guys, we've got a situation that has unfolded in the waters off of Cuba, where 4 U.S. citizens have been killed. They were said to be aboard a Florida-registered speedboat, and the Coast Guard saying that they acted in defense in this. This took place this morning. They say that this violating speedboat detected in Cuban territorial waters, that it was registered in Florida with the number FL7726SH. It approached up to 1 nautical mile northeast of El Pino Channel. This is when a surface unit of the Border Guard troops in the Ministry of Interior that had 5 people on board approached the vessel to try to get identification. The crew of the violating speedboat opened fire on the Cuban personnel, resulting in the injury of the commander of that vessel. And as a consequence of that confrontation, there was return fire. And the Cubans shot the Americans, 4 of them killed, 6 injured in this. The injured were evacuated and received medical assistance. We have no idea who those people are at the moment. They go on to say that in the face of all the challenges between Trump and Cuba and everything, things being so tense, it doesn't help, but that they have a right to defend their waters, especially if they're being shot upon. So we have no names of victims or injured. We just know that the boat was registered in America. We don't even know if it was Americans that were actually on it yet, although they're saying they're Americans without giving their names up. So it's a waiting game here to see what goes on. As I get more information, I'll update. Follow me on X. Join me for the live streams going live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on Dabu 77, talking about this and a lot more. Hope to see you there. Much love.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3, verse 1. To everything there is a season, and a time of every purpose in heaven. Ecclesiasticus 3, verse 2. And a time to be born, and a time to die, and a time to plant, and a time to pluck up the witch's plant. Verse 3. And a time to kill, and a time to heal, and a time to break down, and a time to build up. Verse 4. And a time to weep, and a time to laugh, and a time to mourn, and a time to dance. Verse 5. And a time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together, and a time to embrace, and a time refrain from embracing. Verse 6. And a time to get, and a time to lose, and a time to keep, and a time to cast away. Verse 7. And a time to rent, and a time to sow, and a time to decide, and a time to speak, and a time to love, and a time to HATE, and a time to war, and a time to peace. Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, Wakakadash, and the Heavenly Father. True name is Yahweh, and his only begotten Son, Ba'Hashem, and the name of Hamashiach Yahushai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the logical Kodash, the Holy Tongue, and I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, for Akim, or Akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a prophecy updates as of February 25th, 2026, on this Wednesday afternoon. And as you've seen those video clips from Dabu 7, you had an incident down there in Latin America, off the shores of the United States and not too close from Cuba, and you had these individuals. They say it was American citizens. They was on a speedboat, and they had got close to the waters of Cuba. And then you had the local authorities, security down there in off the shores of Cuba, was checking, see if they was identifying who they are. They asked them that question, and then they didn't respond to it. So unprovokedly, I think they were shooting at the authorities of Cuba. And then in Cuba, they had the local authorities of Cuba. They had defend themselves in self-defense. So you had four Americans. You had 4 Americans that was riding a speedboat, and it was like 4 of them was unalive and 6 of them was injured. So that shows that this is a situation. We're going to see how that plays out. And then keep this in mind, for the past, I would say last year into this year, you've been having ongoing tensions between Cuba, and the United States. And then you've been seeing the lines between Russia and Cuba and other alliances that's teaming up with Cuba. Because keep this in mind, you had Donald Trump. What was that? And I would say in January and February, he was mentioning about, most likely in January particularly, he was talking about potentially shutting the resources off of Cuba, which is the oil sources, because Cuba was doing supposedly from the United States mentioned they did some illegal activities and illegal oil from these companies. From these nations from like Russia, Venezuela, and Latin American countries. They was threatened to cut off resources and oils from Cuba. That comes they amend the intentions of that as well too. So that shows you that the United States and Cuba was on high alert towards one another. They had high tensions as it is already. So you had this speeding boat from the United States was headed towards Cuba. So they got unprovoked. So they had the right to defend themselves. So that's what you call upwards the people of the world, disgressive nations. And then you had that other video clip from Dabu 7. I give him credit to Dabu 77. And he was mentioning about Germany told the citizens that's, over there in the Persian Gulf and over there in the Middle East of personnels and military troops and all that to evacuate immediately, because it might be a potential imminent strike. from the pro-Iranian groups and those organization groups. As we've been seeing, rising tensions are heating up on and off in that region, over there, Iraq, Syria, in that region. Yeah, this is Ecclesiasticus 3 and verse 8. In a time to love, in a time of HATE, in a time of war, time of peace. Right, so we're in the time of war.
I heard somebody in the hallway, and they have stabbed out a box.
Oh, okay.
And she ordered some.
Yeah.
Hello, Moto.
Some kind of help.
Must be, yeah. Yeah, because Bert said he did heard a box. It was like, yeah. Oh, this is from Northwestern University. It says, are you interested in a research study that may help you walk long distance? Yeah, that's what this is.
Horse pills here.
Do you have difficult time walking and stuff like that? That's what that is.
She gave her the card again.
Yeah, I'm trying to get you another credit card. It says,
Hello, Moto.
it says, based on your recent credit history, we think Capital One MasterCard offers what a great for you right now. Responsible use of a card like this can build your credit and reach your goals. Yeah, they're trying to get you to get another credit card.
Credit card.
Yeah, Capital One Platinum card.
Hello, Moto.
Capital One Platinum card.
This is Capital One for you too.
Right. He said this the Capital One. Turn
I
it
get that card home, man.
up. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something.
Yeah. Throw your bank, all types of bank these things so.
Yeah.
I ain't fucking with them. I'm not paying I'm not paying
Right.
you on your life with them.
Man, man.
Little bank we send me cards too. I'm fucking with them bank.
Yeah.
If you're doing that because I'm with Montgomery Ward. I've been with Montgomery Ward for 2 years now.
Yeah, almost 2 years now. Yeah.
The radio a year old. Yeah, I paid 300 so they don't never call me like that.
No, for sure.
You know how I pay?
Yeah.
Shit crazy. I told you I was somebody now.
Yeah.
I ain't good in there.
Yeah, the mail lady must have dropped off a big old package for the lady
That
upstairs.
bad lady. Shit. Crazy. I said, no, I said, she didn't throw the box out. She got like someone upstairs. She ordering stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of people have television.
Yeah. Salakia for that. Yep. Yeah, as I was mentioning again, as we've been seeing the rising tensions over there in the Middle East, as Double 7 had that video clip for like 2 minutes and 31 seconds, I believe. You had Germany was telling citizens to evacuate immediately of a potential imminent strike over there in the bases of Iraq and Syria. And then, as you had that other video clip that I showed from Double 7, you had a speedboat from Americans was heading towards Cuba, and you already had the heightened tensions was heating up between Cuba and the United States as Trump threatens to, because I believe he signed a emergency declaration or something like that to potentially cut off resources from Cuba because they doing illegal activities of oil and stuff like that and resources. Because you've been having potentially Cuba, they was supporting Hezbollah, pro-Iranian groups, Russia, in an unrighteous way, I believe. So that's why Trump signed that executive order. I believe he signed 2 executive orders that was mentioned from Cuba. So you already had heightened tension when it came to that. So you had this American speedboat was headed towards Cuba. And then you had the local authorities. They was asking the people that was on the boat that they had like citizenship, They was asking where they came from, and then they didn't respond, so they unprovokably attacked the Cubans. So they had no choice but to self-defense. So that shows you that we're seeing, Ecclesiastes 3 and verse 8. In a time to love, in a time of HATE, in a time of war and time of peace, right? So we are in those modern day times and seasons. We're living in a time of war, and we're living in a time of HATE. So that's increasing. This is the book of Luke 21 and verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun, and the moon, and the stars, upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity verse 1. Right, and that's what we're seeing, the increasing around the world of modern day of distress of nations with perplexity verse 1. And we're seeing the signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars that Yahushua spoke about. And we're seeing the distress of nations with perplexity verse 1. This is second Ezra chapter 9 and verse 3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, uproar speaking world. Right, so we're seeing uproar speaking world, as we've been seeing those tensions to be heating up between over in Congo. Tensions are really heating up over that. Tensions been heating up over there in the Pakistan, Afghanistan borders. Tensions been heating up once again back over there in Myanmar. Tensions been heating up over there in Sudan. Tensions be heating up between the Russia-Ukraine situation. Now, potentially, tensions might escalate once again because you had Thailand, was this yesterday that was mentioned that they had that Thailand armies blame Cambodia for violating the ceasefire. So those tensions potentially might escalate because they had a ceasefire like last year. So we're going to see how that plays out. So these are signs that we see in our world today, the increasing uptick of uproars in people in the world. We're seeing the earthquakes and the uproars in people in the world. So that's something that will continue to increase. And this is Matthew chapter 24 in verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Right, so you have one nation rising against another kingdom and another kingdom rising against another kingdom, which goes into ethnos. So we see that heating up on a day-to-day basis of the nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Right, we're seeing the weather conditions, that snowstorm hit over there in the northeast, the heaviest snowstorm in 10 years. And we have the earthquakes are increasing at an alarming rate. We're seeing famines are increasing. So we're seeing these famines and pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. So that's something will continue to increase because we're in those modern day times and seasons in every purpose of heaven, which is modern day biblical signs and the signs of times. Check some RT.com. It says Iran. It says U.S. deployed fighter jets to Israel. Yep, it says U.S. deployed fighter jets to Israel. Washington has reportedly sent dozens of F-22 stealth fighters to the Middle East, amiding rising tensions with Iran. The U.S. has deployed the squadron and advanced F-22 rapid stealth fighter jets to the Israeli Air Force Base in the country's south. Multiple media outlets claimed on Tuesday, citing that the U.S. officials' flight tracking data. The report moves comes a part of a major U.S. military building up in the Middle East. It says, amending the escalation tensions with Iran. Yep, wars and rumors of wars. And it says, Iran dismissed Trump's nuclear claims as a big lie. He did kind of lie about that. If you think about it, because he was speaking yesterday at the State of the Union. He was boasting about wiping out Iran's 4 nuclear facilities, which they did use some airstrikes last June when that 12-day war was going on between Iran and Israel. He's talking about he had wiped out the whole nuclear, which he didn't. He knocked some of it off. He didn't fully knock all of it off. So that was, he is right about that. That was a lie. It says Iran dismisses Trump's nuclear claims as big lies. It says the U.S. president has accused Iran of seeking atomic weapons during his State of the Union. Iran has rejected accusations that he's seeking it is seeking nuclear weapons, denouncing President Trump's latest remark as false and misleading. It says Trump has repeatedly dismantled that Tehran dismissal that the nuclear program and curbing its ballistic missiles capability. In his State of the Union address on Tuesday, he claimed that Iran was pushing sinister ambitions and warned that he would never allow it to obtain an atomic weapon. Iranian Foreign Minister spokesperson Islami Bakwakli responded on Wednesday in a post on X accusing the U.S. administration and the war profiteers encircling it, particularly the genocidal of the IDF regime, in the usual propaganda tactics against Iran. Professional liars are good creating the illusion of the truth, McCarthy wrote, quoting the NAZY propaganda minister Joseph Gorbali maxim that repeated a lie and often enough and it's become a truth. And he posted on Twitter, he says professional liars are good at creating an illusion of truth, repeating a lie often enough and it becomes the truth is a law of propaganda coined by the NAZI Joseph Fleming. This is now systematically used by the U.S. administration and the war profiteers encircling it shows more. He added that claim that made Iran missiles are simply repetitive and big lies. And the U.S. says in this address, Trump said Iran has already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas and working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States. Both sides are preparing a third round of indirect meditated talks in Geneva on Thursday, which is over there in Switzerland. It says where Tehran is reportedly expected to present a draft agreement. Last week, Trump set a 15-day deadline for Iran to agree to a deal, warning failures could trigger a military action. Washington has always dispatched a two-carrier group, strike groups, and additional bombers to the Middle East. In the recent weeks, the U.S. struck Iran's nuclear site during a 12-day Israel-Iran war in June of 2025. According to multiple media reports, the U.S. military has also moved more than 150 aircraft to bases in Europe and the Middle East since the second round of talks ended without breakthrough. The Iranian Foreign Minister, Abali Ograski, has insisted that the Tehran's nuclear program is peaceful and that zero enrichment encirclement was that's kind of the United States kind of really oppose that because they look at that as a nuclear missile threat. It says it's unacceptable, citing that Iran is ready for a military confrontation if diplomacy fails and would target U.S. bases if attacked. Moscow has warned that the standoff is potentially explosive and that the strikes on Iran nuclear sites will cause a nuclear disaster and urged all sides to seek peace in the settlements. Now, if these nuclear talks fail, what's that? First Thessalonians, Apostle Paul mentioned, for when they shall say peace and safety, sudden destruction come upon them. First Thessalonians 5:3, for when they shall say peace and safety, sudden destruction come upon them, as the children of child shall escape. Right, why you got the Iran building up their military defense as the pro-Iranian groups stay on standby. Otherwise, tension heating up between Iran and the pro-Iranian groups going against the United States armies and Israel Defense Force armies. This is Matthews 24 in verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Right, we're hearing wars and rumors of wars on a day-to-day basis. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet. Right, so it's going to come to pass, but not just end yet. So on a daily basis, as Yahushua mentioned, that can be related to these modern day times. We see wars and rumors of wars, especially, the Israel Defense Force versus Iran and the pro-Iranian groups, and Iran versus the Israel Defense Force and versus the United States armies. as both nations on both sides on high alert against one another as military presence are heating up, over there in the Persian Gulf, over there in the Mediterranean Sea, over there in the Red Sea, over there in the Arabian Sea, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza Strip, West Bank, Palestinian territory. As I mentioned, that video clip 007 played, he in German was telling all citizens and all that's involved in personnel and military soldiers from all different nations and like NATO and all them to evacuate immediately because they might be a potential imminent strike from the pro-Iranian groups. While these tensions are heating up between the Israel Defense Force and the Iran and the pro-Iranian groups as well too. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, which goes to Ethnos, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. And this is the prophet Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. And this is the prophet Joel chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Right, so let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. As the tensions are on high alert between these nations over there in the Middle East, which is Western Asia. And that's why he said all citizens and personnel to be evacuated immediately over there at the bases over there in Iraq and Syria. As a video from 007. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Right, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Joel 3 and verse 10. Beat your plowshares and the swords and the pointing hooks and the spears, and let the weak sound strong. Right, so let the weak sound strong of these armies and nations as the pro-Iranian groups, they on standby of the rising tension that they have against the Israel Defense Force and United States armies as military building up from both sides, heating up over there in that area in the Middle East. It's the book of Revelations, and then I'm going to close it out. Revelations 11 verse 14, the second will pass, behold the third will come quickly. Right, so the second will pass, behold the third will come quickly. So this was just a prophecy update as of February 25th, 2026 on this Wednesday afternoon. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem HaKadosh, and the Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh, and his only begotten Son, Ba'ashem, in the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew, the Lashon Kodash Holy Tongue. And I say Barak Thumb to the elders and apostles, Ba'akim Ma'akbah. Till next time, I will say Shalom.